Military aircraft. China's fatal miscalculation in targeting a U.S. aircraft carrier asterisk in the volatile expanse of the South China Sea. Tension was already simmering. Fleets from two of the world's most formidable militaries moved like pieces. On a grand chessboard, each maneuver calculated, each signal loaded with meaning. Then came the moment that jolted military analysts and political leaders alike. Chinese military aircraft locked onto U.S. aircraft carrier group, a move as audacious as it was dangerous. It was not just a test of mettle and might. It was a direct challenge to the rules of power projection that have underpinned naval dominance for decades. Asterisk. From the cockpit view of a Chinese J-16 fighter, the American supercarrier loomed like a floating fortress, bristling with aircraft, radar arrays, and defenses that seemed almost impenetrable. But in Beijing's war rooms, the calculus was simple. Pressure the U.S. in disputed waters. Force a reaction and send a signal to the region. What they did not anticipate was the scale of the response that would follow. Asterisk, the USS Gerald R. Ford. A behemoth of naval engineering and pride of the U.S. fleet was not merely sailing. It was executing a strategic patrol with cutting-edge detection systems online and combat air patrols in the sky. Every move was tracked, every potential threat assessed. When the Chinese fighters approached at high speed, the carrier's escort destroyers activated radar tracking, locking in on the incoming bogies with precision that was unmistakable. Asterisk, military insiders later revealed that the encounter was not just a fleeting brush in open waters, it was an orchestrated approach by the Chinese Air Force to probe U.S. carrier defenses. The pilots flew a trajectory designed to trigger American responses, gauging the speed, range, and coordination of the carrier's air wing. But this probing crossed the line. The radar locks, aggressive altitude changes, and proximity to the carrier strike group were seen by the U.S. Navy as an escalation. Asterisk, the reaction was swift. Two FA-180 Super Hornets roared off the deck of the Ford, climbing high above the waves before banking hard toward the incoming Chinese formation. Their message was unmistakable. The carrier group was not to be toyed with. Over secure comes. Warnings were issued in measured but firm language, reminding the Chinese pilots that their current course and altitude placed them within a combat engagement envelope. Asterisk, on the surface. The encounter ended without a missile fired or a jet falling from the sky. But in the halls of the Pentagon and the Central Military Commission in Beijing, the implications were seismic. The U.S. viewed the move as a deliberate provocation, one that risked triggering a chain reaction no one could control. For China, the mission may have been intended to demonstrate resolve, but it inadvertently exposed critical vulnerabilities. Intelligence gathered during the encounter revealed response times, weapon system readiness, and flight coordination details that U.S. analysts could pore over for months. Asterisk, naval warfare experts have pointed out that targeting even in simulated or probing scenarios, a U.S. aircraft carrier is not a decision taken lightly. These ships are not only symbols of American power, they are the nucleus of a vast defensive and offensive network. A carrier group is layered with a GC-equipped destroyers, guided missile cruisers, submarines lurking beneath, and combat aircraft overhead. Any hostile act against such a group risks igniting a full-scale conflict before diplomacy can even catch up. Asterisk, in the days that followed, US carrier operations in the region became more assertive. Patrol patterns shifted closer to contested zones, reconnaissance flights increased, and allied nations like Japan and Australia stepped up joint drills with the American fleet. The unspoken message was clear. The U.S. was prepared to defend its maritime dominance, and any attempt to intimidate a carrier strike group would meet an unflinching reply. Asterisk, for China, the gamble carried political costs as well. Southeast Asian Nations, many of whom maintain delicate balancing acts between economic ties too. Beijing and security ties to Washington took note of the incident. Some quietly increased cooperation with U.S. forces, fearing that China's willingness to challenge a carrier could foreshadow even bolder moves in regional waters. Behind closed doors. U.S. intelligence analysts dissected every millisecond of radar and sensor data from the incident. The approach vectors, electronic signatures, and communications intercepted during the encounter offered valuable insight into Chinese air tactics. Ironically, in seeking to gauge American resolve, China may have handed over a treasure trove of operational information to its primary strategic rival. The episode also underscored a broader reality. Modern military brinkmanship carries risks that far outweigh the theatrics. Aircraft can close distances in seconds. Missile systems can engage almost instantly. And electronic warfare can scramble communications before a commander even realizes what's happening. In such an environment, the margin for error is razor thin, and a single misjudgment can cascade into catastrophe. The U.S. Navy, for its part, used the incident to reinforce its doctrine on readiness. Carrier groups in the Indo-Pacific were reminded that any approach, whether a reconnaissance drone, a fast attack craft, or a foreign fighter jet, must be treated as potentially hostile until proven otherwise. Training drills incorporated more aggressive intercept scenarios, simulating exactly the kind of high-speed, altitude passes that characterize the Chinese approach. In the broader strategic picture, China's attempt to challenge and target a U.S. carrier may go down as a cautionary tale in modern naval history. What was meant to be a show of force instead exposed the dangers of underestimating an opponent whose military doctrine prizes layered defense, rapid response, and overwhelming firepower. The U.S. didn't need to fire a shot to make its point. The rapid mobilization of air assets, the tight coordination between ships, and the unmistakable presence of Allied support spoke volumes. As the South China Sea returns to its uneasy normal, one truth remains: the next time such an encounter occurs, the outcome might not be as restrained. In a theater where seconds matter and resolve is measured in decisive action, both sides are now more aware than ever of the razor's edge they walk. And somewhere, deep in the classified logs of both militaries, this incident will remain. A stark reminder of how quickly a calculated move can spiral into a grave mistake.